What is going on, guys? It's Dylan here. Today, we'll be going over a ticker symbol analysis on the ticker symbol RDDT. Reddit. We did see the blow off top around that $230 level, breaking the floor, collapsing until entering a around 1 to 2 week range, breaking to the downside with a big wide bar. Since then, guys, we traded all the way back down to this gap zone, filling that perfectly. Since then, new buyers have stepped into the market, guys, forming this very interesting bullish structure that could do lead to a lot of upside in the future, potentially getting to these higher levels, guys. With that being said, though, we remain completely unbiased throughout today's video. Let's go start our technical analysis over on the weekly chart. Since Reddit IPO'd, guys, you've seen the strength, man. We came up and more or less was in a range, which is very typical for these IPO kind of stocks. We bounced from the floor to the ceiling, right? To the floor, which now gets higher, setting that higher low, moving back to the ceiling with an incredible price action movement, guys. We've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 green candles in a row. One flip red, guys. You didn't even see the red to green reversal. Sellers weren't even able to capitalize for a couple of weeks of drip. Really lets you know how strong stock price is. We've run all the way to $230 for getting that blow off top, flipping down, and now we're all the way back right at this breakout level, guys. So within this area, this is where you expect buyers to step back up and any short sellers who've been in this vicinity to exit their position. Very simple, guys, and that's what we've seen. We've seen buyers step back up, momentarily getting fought off at that $125 level, but not really a lot of seller pressure, guys. When we zoom in, you see how, there's some wicks on the tops of these candles, but it's more or less consolidation. We drag down, immediate bounce, and you see the last couple of weeks, guys, the sellers haven't had much at all for the buyers. Since revisiting these lows, the structure in the candles just really lets you know that. We come up pretty strong, right? Just kind of don't really do a whole lot. We drop down, immediately gets bought back up. What'd you see this week? Right? Sellers push stock price down, but we hold nice and strong close to that trend line, guys. So we're seeing a lot of strength over the next few weeks. Not a lot of seller pressure, and it makes sense, guys. As when you are down a massive measurement of size, right? As of now, we're 50% from the highs, ultimately 68% within these lows. This is just not a wise area to short, guys. If stock price does jamble around, eventually we do get the breakdown, right? You can see short sellers exit here. Enter the position there. But as of now, guys, stock price looks very good with little to no seller pressure within this pennant structure. So considering we're forming this very nice consolidation on this previous breakout level, which gave us just a massive momentum, guys, and just such a strong price action, we definitely got to be bullish on the weekly analysis, guys. So although we still are in this consolidation pocket and have that clear 125 psychological resistance level to break, there's a lot of upside, guys, if we do break that. And to the downside, I mean, there's just not as much room. We've already retracted back down, and it would make sense to get some essence of a bounce now, even if it is a relief bounce to ultimately knife down. Stock price does look, set to reach that $150 psychological level eventually. But with that being said, guys, we got what we needed out of the weekly. Let's go move over to the daily analysis to get a little bit more of a medium-term analysis. 95% of gaps within the stock market do get filled. You guys may know this, you might not. So see this massive breakout level where previously, candles were quite thin, not really much going on until you see this big gap up, leading this very critical area, which could eventually be filled. Right, we set that massive gap. Stock price has its run before flipping down, coming all the way back down to this blue box of support, being that previous consolidation before the breakout, and more importantly, this big gap up. We've seen buyers immediately step back up, guys, with a bullish engulfing, and this is just exactly what you want to see. This signifies that buyers have cash in hand ready to get in on this dip. As of course, we've had a very big retracement, guys, so there's a lot more room to the upside than the down. With that being said, we pressed up to the end of this channel, went lower, forming a little bit of an hourly flag, breaking out over this hammer candle, forming that higher low, pushing all the way back up to this very key $125 level. It did appear that sellers, right, did their job, shoved stock price down before being very short-lived, right? Buyers gave it another go for their money, pressing up before a pretty nasty bull trap, guys. This kind of movement with this volume, the back end you see over here, this traps a lot of beginner traders and just a lot of money in general. So to see this pretty nasty double top with the wick over top signifying a false breakout, push down, but then immediately get bought back up, it just really lets you know that, even in these high fear situation for the sellers, they're willing to step back up, guys. So it's very hard to be bearish seeing that stock price is building up immediately with little to no red candles and consolidating very, very nice against this level. If we zoom into the current daily candles, you do see we have another nice sign being a bullish engulfing, right? Similar to over here, right? This one is not as quite of a extravagant wide bar as typically they can be, being this is a full wide body bar. But this candle bar, right, the body completely engulfs this past candle, signifying a bullish reversal or more continuation within its context, being that, you know, we're already moving up. So with that being said, guys, we're seeing a lot of nice signs on the daily. Definitely looks nice seeing this confluence here. And even if stock price does drop at these levels, I mean, the floor is right here being this descending support. So realistically, shouldn't be much of a ride down, perhaps to that $107, $108, $110 level. Just a lot more upside to be had. Right, we do have to reclaim this very, very big, quote unquote, boogeyman resistance level, which in the past, right, was the breakout level. We pressed up against this after the gap zone, rejected, pulled down, held up against it for 2 days, got the breakout. Classic break and retest, a very, very profitable strategy, guys. But that's besides the point. Stock price surge, forming a higher low, and we continue the trend. So 125 bucks, being that does line up with the psychological level, $100, 125, 150, 175, 200, and being a critical level where stock price has historically rejected and bounced upon over here, you definitely gotta like what you see. But with that being said, even though the breakout level technically would be around that $122 level, keep an eye that we have to break over 125 with the strong candle close to get that massive upside to potentially eventually 150, which is very, very realistic, guys, as we do have a gap fill area. Once again, right, these gaps are very, very important for Reddit, and it's continued to cover it. You may ask, Dylan, what do you have marked up here? What is this? Well, that's another gap, right? You see right here, another baby gap. It builds up, fills that gap-like area where it leaves a gap which must be filled. What do buyers do? They immediately come down, fill it with a big bullish engulfing, eventually pressing up higher. So stock price looks very, very good, man, from just a lot of perspective on the daily. Yes, we haven't gotten a breakout yet, but over the years, you're able to identify and collect the clues to when will it break out and what is the probability. So looking at the daily, guys, with a very high implied probability, that this overall pennant is bullish, despite being in a negative trajectory to start it, which obviously a lot of, more surface level traders say, oh, we based out, dropped, right? This is a bearish pennant. Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from, but I think it's a lot more surface level than, what technical analysis truly is. So looking at all the signs on the daily, guys, a little bit of a rant, but stock price looks very, very good. We do expect this pennant to break out, ultimately testing 125 and likely getting that break over to come to that gap fill at 150.53, or to be a little bit more hard level, $150 psychological. With that being said, guys, go flip over to the hourly analysis. On the hourly time frame, guys, you do see a inverted head and shoulders. Not the cleanest one I've ever seen, but the rough psychology remains to be true. We see a confluence crescendo, right? We see a confluence crescendo being the head here, shoulder here, other shoulder being right here, which the neckline would be right at this level right here, guys. Really being 120 bucks, but there is some wick outs over here, so you want to press it a little bit higher just to not get false broken out. So with that being said, we're seeing another nice sign on the hourly, and really the most notable thing we're taking away here, being that there's not a whole lot, is that when we previously approached this $125 resistance level in this overall region within this vicinity of this descending trend line, getting roughly to it, you see stock price was a lot more volatile. And volatile is strong, it's good, guys, but to approach a big breakout level, it's almost better in a lot of situations to see this kind of consolidation, right? Tight consolidation. Just gives a lot more energy build to get the ultimate retest and break. So that's notable right away, guys. When we have these very euphoric movements up, there's more potential for a rug pull, as what comes up must come down, guys. And it's just how stock works. They move up, move down, move up, move down. So if you move up very, very dramatically, right, when sellers do step in, especially when they get the false break like they did over here, right, there's a lot more room to the downside. So that's notable right away. Let's go take away these trend lines now. And the last thing we want to brush upon, guys, is that We did see this ascending trend line being taken out by the sellers, which could offer a good short selling opportunity, but immediately reversed, guys, trapping these sellers. We've seen stock price reemerging back to closest $125 level, this descending resistance marker, with a big wide bar pressing down from this very, very obvious clear channel. This is the spot where short sellers like to step in, and if they're still present, this is the spot. What does stock price do? It trapped them. It trapped them, guys, and very, very beautiful. We formed this double bottom like pattern, not quite as we did set this other low a little bit higher, setting a higher low, which looks nice. But you've seen an immediate squeeze up with these sellers getting exited. So, although technically we do have a lot of rejection, like amongst this $120 level and this descent trend line, you still just see a lot of bullish confluence, and seeing stock price hold very nicely after breaking down from a channel like this just really lets you know where the buyers are at. And yeah, guys, things look very, very nice. So before we wrap up our video, right, let's go and get a price target for this pennant structure. As of now, all the signs are pointing to the upside that we do get the breakdown. So if we get a trend line, take it from the bottom to the top, you arguably could move it over here, but we like to keep things a little bit more conservatively, especially with these price targets. So to the bottom, to the top, roughly around a 75% retracement. So if we take a 50% retracement of that, roughly being 35%, we take that all the way to the bottom of the breakout level, which could be very, very soon, somewhere around here, right? That perfectly does line up with that gap fill at $150, guys. So we do believe that is very, very realistic, guys. Eventually, we could claim all-time highs. And if you guys have been following the channel for a little bit, you know I'm the last guy to come on here and be a talking head and blah, blah, blah. No, it's not what it's about. It's about unbiased technical analysis. And you got to give credit where credit's due, man. The stock looks very, very strong. And this reminds me a lot of Palantir, which I made a lot of money on. If you flip over to Palantir, you see that stock price had this very nice surge, right, for having a very, very similar blow off top. Stock price knife down, entering back into this consolidation, right? Entering that pocket, which Reddit is very, very similar, entering this pocket, not a consolidation, but back in this very important pocket where there's just a lot more upside than down, guys. And, just seeing these strong liquidity movements really lets you know that if the new cycle does happen, you could see some really exciting price action, guys. So gotta love what you're seeing out of Reddit as of now, guys. I think stock price looks very, very strong. With that being said, of course, keep an eye on $125. Closing over that strong should give us the easy movement eventually to $150 to go and fill this gap zone. Even if we do reject over the top, guys, we still have the floor here. So definitely feels like a good risk reward setup for the buyers here. Not really a lot for the sellers, right? If we do eventually end up jamming up within this apex and dropping, that's a different story, but we're not seeing any technical indication as of now that that will occur. If you guys found any value in the video, consider liking and subscribing. We will go over Reddit about 1 to 2 times a week. It really just depends on how many times you guys want to see these videos. With that being said, guys, I hope you had a good day. If you found any value, once again, consider subscribing. Alrighty, guys, take care and peace.